Chapter 19. The story of time and history. History is always written by the winners. When two cultures clash, the loser is obliterated, and the winner writes the history books, books which glorify their own cause and disparage the conquered foe. What is history but a fable agreed upon? Napoleon. History is a nightmare from which I am trying to awake. James Joyce. Today is a new day. Don't let your history interfere with your destiny. Let today be the day you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start taking action towards the life you want. You have the power and the time to shape your life. Break free from the poisonous victim mentality and embrace the truth of your greatness. You were not meant for a mundane or mediocre life. Stefan Maraboli. I am not a victim, no matter what I have been through. I have a history, yes, but I have confined it, imprisoned it in the past where it belongs. I have let go of the weight of it and the negative emotion of it. I have taken as many lessons from it as I can, and I am now gathering momentum. I may still be going uphill, but I'm in the driving seat at last. Jim Bulger. So, where are you with history? Are you judging your future on your past? If you have learned all you can from the past, then leave it behind. Your future starts here. If you mix with people who love to remind you of your past failings, then you are going to have to forgive them and avoid them until you have established where your future belongs. As I've said already, many of your friends and family may not be too excited about you wanting to grow and move up because they don't believe you can, and if you do, they don't want to be left behind. History, by the simple fact that it is a recollection of past events, is based on our view, our perspective, on the passage of time and those events. Those events are emotionally stamped and filed away in our subconscious memory, waiting to be recalled at some future time. We cannot make sense of those events until we take into account all the aspects that are connected to those memories. They are a complex mixture of who we were at that time, our beliefs, perspectives, biases, prejudices, traditions, and values. Each of these aspects are also historical, inasmuch as they change as our understanding changes. Since one of the key attributes of history is time, let's take a look at that. What is time and what does it mean to us? Is time a singular line from the past to the future? Is it a sequence of ordered singular events? The past is fixed, we know it. It is called history. It has a duration that we can measure. We can examine it because it has left details and memories. None of these apply to the future. We use clocks to measure time. A clock is a constant so we can plan ahead. However, the more we look into the future, the more the attributes of time as we understand it and use it fall away. Those attributes or properties are, for example, it is one-dimensional, it is symmetric, it is the same for everybody, it is measurable by clocks, etc. This understanding of time comes as a package. It is layered, although we generally see it as one unit. Since it is layered, we can separate the pieces, however. As we do, we break it down so that time doesn't exist at all anymore. Wow, let's take away a few pieces and see what happens. We'll start with clocks. We believe that clocks measure time, and all clocks measure time in the same way. That is not correct. We get two atomic clocks, set them exactly the same time, then move them apart either one up and the other down, or on the same level but with a distance between them, then bring them back together. They will not tell the same time. We've known this fact for a very long time, but it can be seen more clearly now because of atomic clocks, which measure time in very small increments. It seems strange that your head is actually older than your feet, but it's true. In our experience, the differences are small enough so that we don't recognize them. But the reality is that the time between two events is different for two people, even though they think they are doing the same thing at the same time. Many years ago, each village or town would have a clock at the town hall or local church that all the people in that area lived their lives by. However, their time would usually be a little different to the next town or village. It wasn't until these towns and villages were connected by the railway system that the need to align time in each area became important. So the next question that comes from that is, what is now? What does now mean? Well, I know what the meaning of now is for me, and you know the meaning of now for you, but is it the same now? If I look across the room at you and we wave to each other, are we in the same now? Not really, because the you I'm seeing is actually younger than the real you because it takes time for your image to travel across the room, to my eyes, and vice versa. Okay, so it's such a small amount of time that we don't notice it. However, if you were on Jupiter, I would see you as you were maybe 2 hours ago, and if you were on a star a long way away, I would see you as you were maybe 4 years ago, so I wouldn't be seeing you in your now. If I'm seeing you 4 years in your past because that's how long it takes for your image to travel to me, then are you seeing me 4 years in your future? That's hard to get your head around at first. But we need to understand this principle before we can see how it has an effect on other situations. Einstein said that time is in slices. The past, present, and future are all slices of what we call time, and those who are in the same slice see now as the same, so now is based on locality. We ask, is the Roman Empire real? Yes. But it is not in our now, only in a slice of time we call the past. Is it gone or still there in that slice? We can see the effects of each slice of time as we move forward. However, we cannot return to that slice of time to change it. So the only thing we can change is our current perspective on it, according to the rules or context we agree or choose to use. So, what is real? In the bubble of time that we share, we can all agree on what is now and what is real, but how does that relate to the future? Well, we can all agree that the past is different from the future. Yesterday is different from tomorrow. Yesterday is fixed, we know about that, but we don't know about tomorrow. However, where does this distinction show up in physics? It doesn't. The laws of quantum mechanics, electro and magnetic field theory, general relativity, and the standard laws of particle physics don't have this distinction between past and future. The one science that sees the distinction between past and future is the second law of thermodynamics, which says that entropy always grows towards the future. So, what is entropy? It is the measure of disorder. Because we don't know what is in the future, it seems disordered. The past was also disordered when it was the future until it became the past, and we could make some sense of what happened by looking back at the sequence of events. Here's an example. If you have a box with red balls and green balls in it, and you put all the red balls in one corner and all the green balls in the other, that is order. If you shake the box and the balls mix together, that is disorder, and the measurement of the disorder is called entropy. Now, let's say your friend is colorblind, and he can't see the difference between the red and green balls. From his point of view, there is no entropy. Let's also say that he can see that some of the balls are slightly smaller than some others, so he puts all the smaller ones in one corner and the bigger ones in the other corner. But all the colors are mixed now, so his idea of order is very different from yours. This shows us that entropy or disorder is based on the agreed standard of what is being measured, or how we interact with something, and not in the something itself. This is a key point. So, order is in the eye of the person who is looking from his own viewpoint, and not in the things themselves. Order comes jointly, when a selection description is agreed by all. For example, if the balls were numbered or named in a specific manner. So, entropy can now be lessened by an agreed description. This then becomes the accepted reality for now, and history for the past. This is a compromise to lessen what can be seen as friction, but misses out on some of the potential dynamics and innovation brought about by working close to the point of disorder. The name for this phenomenon is adaptation to the edge of chaos. The truly creative changes and the big shifts occur right at the edge of chaos, says Dr. Robert Bilder, a psychiatry and psychology professor at UCLA's Semel Institute for Neuroscience and Human Behavior. So let us ask, why do we see order in the past? What are the components of the past that, from our viewpoint, seems to be ordered? We make the past fit the rules we have set for measuring entropy, so it looks ordered. Everything that is ordered in time is because of entropy. It is entropy that gives us the passage of events in relation to time. For example, if you roll a ball across a table, it will eventually come to a stop because the heat generated by the mechanical energy turns to thermal energy with the friction of the ball on the table, and, over time, the ball will run out of the energy it needs to move. If we video that ball rolling across the table and then play it backwards, we will see no input of energy by you on the ball, and it will look like it just started by itself and gathered speed, which we know cannot happen, so it won't make sense. However, if we video the movement of the planets revolving around the sun and play it backwards, we cannot tell which way is correct, because there is no entropy, no apparent friction, no beginning and no end to the motion, which is how we measure time. Therefore, without entropy, there can be no measurement of time. Entropy is also responsible for our understanding of cause and effect. Time is emotionally charged for us. It represents a loss for us via our memories. This is the root of our understanding and making sense of our relationship with time. How do we join the frames of our images if we can only see our now? We must be able to see some of the past in order to make sense of the now. For example, if you are looking out across a landscape, your now is moving frame by frame as you move your eyes. But what you've just looked at is still in your memory, and your brain stitches them together to make it look continuous. You are actually looking at the past and the present at the same time. Look at your eyes in a mirror. Move them from right to left, still looking at them. You can see that your eyes have moved, but you can't actually see them moving because your brain does not have that piece of information in order to stitch the frames together. Interesting. Look at someone else's eyes moving from right to left. Now you can see the actual movement. What does all this mean to us? Does our brain recognize the difference from past to present to future? If time is only recognizable because of entropy, the dissipation of heat from one form of energy to another, and that is caused primarily by the movement of matter through a segment of space, then a thought or a picture in your mind, since it is not matter and it is not moving anywhere, does not have space or time restraints. Does that mean that thought is everywhere at the same time, past, present, and future? If thoughts are waves and all waves are entangled, does that mean that if we tune into a specific frequency, we can pick up on the thoughts of others from the past, present, or future? We'll look at the aspect of frequency closer in an upcoming chapter. Does it mean that I can send a thought or image into my own future? Does it mean I can affect my future by planting groundwork for what I'll find when I get there? We know that cause and effect is also recognized because of entropy, so can we set in motion, in our now, a cause that will give us a specific effect in the future? I think yes, because I think we see the effect of that already in our lives. Let's look at past, present, and future. I think most people will agree that the present can change the future. However, is it possible that the present can change the past? Is the past determined by the present, and can we alter the past based on the present? Wow, what could that mean for us? It seems ridiculous on first consideration that the present could influence the past. However, let me try to put some perspective on the idea and see what you think then. As with most other topics in this book, let's look at this through the eyes of a story. Marie and Jason have been married for 10 years. Jason always wanted a good wife, a nice home, and the prospects of children. He often imagined his later years as being surrounded by children and grandchildren, celebrating life's events together and looking back on many years of happiness. Completely out of the blue, a friend of Jason's calls him and asks if everything was okay with him and Marie. Of course, why, he says. The phone goes quiet for the longest time. Jason is feeling puzzled, and then his legs feel weak. It's just, I saw her last night with someone else. They looked like they were a couple. I'm so sorry to be the one to tell you. Jason's world has just crashed. His brain cannot comprehend what he has just heard. He wants to know more, but can't bring himself to ask. He feels sick. He hangs up. Later that evening, he confronts Marie and eventually finds out that she has been having an affair for most of their married life. So, what has just happened? The map that Jason was using to navigate his life is suddenly found to be false. There is little on that map that he can now relate to. He questions his judgment. In fact, he questions his very ability to make judgments at all. And that brings into question many other areas of his life outside his marriage. His journey, his history of where he has traveled through life with his wife, is no longer there, and the place he thought he was heading for is no longer there either. In fact, the present has just completely changed his past and his future. When he looks back over the years he has been married, he now sees every event in a different light. Every happy time he spent with his wife was a lie. Every celebration, the gifts she had bought him, the love in their home, the birth of his children, everything he remembers has now changed. He wonders, are they even his children? The fact that he does not know who his wife is anymore is bad. That he now questions himself and his understanding of the world around him is worse. Does that story alter your opinion on the present changing the past and future? While the idea that the present can alter the past is mind-bending, it can also be great news. Our history, which can sometimes feel like a weight around our feet, is our journey, not our destination. We still have time to decide our present and our future. And as we've just seen, that can also alter our view and opinion of the past. In Chapter 9, we looked at perspective. Let's look at it again in light of our understanding of time. The judgments we make as to where we are on our journey is largely down to perspective. We know that as we change our perspective on something, then the something in question seems to change. However, we have also learned in this chapter, entropy tells us that the something doesn't change, as in the perceived order or chaos of the red and green balls. It only seems to because the rules we make to give understanding or order to it has changed. So, if we understand the past, our history, based on the rules of entropy and perspective, we can make the rules for how we view the chaos and put it into order in relation to our journey. It is then that the present can surely change the past. Did you believe in Santa and the Tooth Fairy when you were young? When or why did you stop believing in them? Was it because you found evidence that it was not true? What do you believe now that you simply haven't found evidence about its falsehoods? Maybe it's because you haven't looked. What do you believe about yourself based on other people's opinions? Is there evidence for that? Remember, meeting with failure in a project or business does not make you a failure. Self-limiting or empowering beliefs, where did they come from? Beliefs are driven by values. What are your values, your drivers? What has been sown in your garden of beliefs? Your life does not get better by chance. It gets better by change. And change is a choice. Like the game Jenga, when you remove a belief from your life, other pieces of your life can fall. Pieces you would have rather kept, and that can be hard on you and those around you. That can also be the reason people are reluctant to change. They don't want to be cast out of the group of people with whom they once shared a belief. They can find themselves in a wilderness by leaving one set of beliefs behind, but not having a belief to replace it with yet. They have dropped a piece of their history, and because our history is mostly built into the structure of our lives, we realize we use it like a crutch. Many times people will return to the old belief simply to bring some order back into their lives. They are more comfortable living with their history than forging a new path. Does this mean that at least some of our beliefs are held, based on a fear of being different, of stepping out from the shadows of our history? We judge others by their looks, their behavior, their culture, and their history. We judge ourselves by our intentions without noticing our own prejudices and failings. Our journey is to discover ourselves, our wants, wishes, hopes, dreams, and expectations. On the way, we will uncover more than we expect. A discovery does not always increase our knowledge, however, it always increases our awareness of our ignorance. Think on this. Innovation is at the edge of chaos. Get comfortable with not knowing everything. Does tension drive you back into your comfort zone or push you forward into new areas? Are you better at respecting the values of others rather than your own values? What value do you lead with when faced with a situation? Can you forgive yourself for the past? Regret is a barrier to your future. It has little value where your future belongs. It's a weight around your neck, a chain around your ankle. Let it go. Bury it where it belongs, in the past. Embrace forgiveness. Start with forgiving yourself, then anyone who ever said or did something to hurt you. Don't give historic events in your life, or people, rent-free space in your head. Toss them out onto the street. Clear out your house. Your life starts from right here, right now. You have greatness on the inside of you. Let it out. Reread the story of the little boy and the mason at the start of Chapter 5. Decide what you want in your life. What character traits do you want or need in order to be the person who can achieve your goal? Chip away the pieces that do not belong there. Make new history from here on. Be the star in your own film of your life. How do you want that story told in 5 years' time? When you chip away the pieces you don't want anymore, the pieces that don't belong, the sharp pieces that hurt others, the pieces that are currently hiding the real, beautiful you, what do you think it will uncover? It is important to mention here that the map we are using will not always be accurate to the terrain. What does this mean? It means that the terrain of life has potholes and cliffs that obstruct our passage, and they don't always show on our map. Sometimes we must divert from our perceived straight line to our goal. This is our journey. There will be diversions. There are many things to learn along the way. The lessons will stand to us as we progress. They build our character. They give us the tools we need to overcome our challenges. They allow us to navigate with more confidence. Leave your history where it is. Change your perspective on it. See it for the experience it was. Move on. The game is not over yet. There are many chapters in our own story, and amongst them will be hard ones to get through and happy ones too. Together they make our story interesting, challenging, mysterious, funny, and uniquely ours. Whatever you are facing right now, you have within you the capability to face it and overcome it. As I have explained throughout this book, when you set your target clearly with detail and passion, your cybernetic system, along with your RAS, will seek out what and who you need to accomplish your task. Again, the stories we tell ourselves will play a huge role in deciding our outcome. Yes, when trouble raises its ugly head, all our values and beliefs, our hopes and dreams will be brought into sharp focus and questioned. Remember this explanation of entropy. Chaos and confusion are a perspective of the rules we are working with. Try changing how you view something. Look at it from a different vantage point. Consider it from the position of someone else in the story. What can they see that you can't? We must resist the temptation to immediately place the blame on ourselves. Of course, we may well recognize that we missed, or simply chose to ignore, some signals along the way, but we must resist beating ourselves up. This is where we are. It is our unique journey. Our journey and the lessons we have learned can be a real strength in our lives. Perhaps it is time to view our life map from a different frame of reference. Keep a check on the stories you are telling yourself. Ask yourself how much of those stories are true, and how much are your emotions telling you false ideas. You'll be surprised how often you will add your opinions to the stories that are not necessarily based on any truths, but entirely on emotions. Time doesn't always heal deep wounds, however. It allows us to put them into some perspective, grow in our understanding, build our character, and carry on. We're very aware of our own failings, our deep, dark thoughts, our history. There are people you know that you don't like because of something they did, but you know everything about yourself. Everything you have done or thought to do, no wonder you struggle to like yourself. Ask yourself, how did I get to this place in my life? Was I careless with my journey? What decisions did I deliberately make that brought me here? Who have I hurt in the process? Ask for their forgiveness. Once you have learned what you can from the past, delete the unforgiveness folder you have against yourself. Cancel your debt to yourself. Let yourself out of the prison you have lived in. Delete your emotionally historic folder while you are at it. Correct those mistakes. Learn from them and move on. Pronounce a full amnesty over your life, then celebrate. Let me be the first to congratulate you. Well done. They always say time changes things, but you actually have to change them yourself. Andy Warhol.